In a small village nestled at the foot of a towering mountain, there lived a young boy named Zephyr Stormrider. The mountain, known as Kala Pahad, Black Mountain, was infamous for its treacherous paths, unpredictable weather, and jagged cliffs. Many villagers had attempted to climb it, but none had ever reached the summit. Over time, the mountain became a symbol of impossibility, and the villagers stopped trying altogether. They would often say, "Kala Pahad is not meant to be conquered. It's a roadblock to our dreams." But Zephyr was different. From a young age, he had been fascinated by the mountain. He would spend hours staring at its peak, imagining what it would be like to stand at the top and see the world from such a height. His father, a farmer, would often scold him, saying, "Stop dreaming, Zephyr. The mountain is not for us. Focus on the fields. That's where your future lies." But Zephyr couldn't let go of his dream. He believed that the mountain wasn't a roadblock, but a challenge waiting to be overcome. He often thought, what if the mountain is not here to stop me, but to make me stronger? When Zephyr turned 18, he decided to climb Kala Pahad. He trained for months, building his strength and endurance by running through the fields and climbing smaller hills. The villagers laughed at him, calling him foolish. "You're wasting your time," as they said. "The mountain will break you, just like it broke everyone else." But Zephyr was determined. On the day of his climb, he packed a small bag with food, water, and a rope, and set off at dawn. The first part of the climb was relatively easy. The path was steep but manageable, and Zephyr felt a surge of confidence. This isn't so hard, he thought. But as he ascended higher, the terrain became more challenging. The rocks were slippery and the air grew thinner. By midday, Zephyr was exhausted. He slipped and fell multiple times, scraping his hands and knees. The villagers' warnings echoed in his mind. "The mountain will break you." Just as he was about to give up, Zephyr noticed a small bird struggling against the wind. It flapped its wings furiously, fighting to stay airborne. Despite the strong gusts, the bird didn't give up. It kept pushing forward, inch by inch, until it finally soared above the mountain's ridge. Zephyr felt a renewed sense of determination. "If that little bird can fight the wind, I can fight this mountain," he thought. He pushed through the pain and continued climbing. But as night fell, the temperature dropped drastically, and a fierce storm rolled in. Zephyr had no choice but to turn back. When Zephyr returned to the village, bruised and defeated, the villagers shook their heads. "We told you so," they said. "Kala Pahad is not for the likes of us. Give up, Zephyr." But Zephyr refused to see his failure as the end. Instead, he saw it as a lesson. He realized that he had underestimated the mountain and overestimated his own abilities. "I need to prepare better," he told himself. "This isn't a roadblock. It's an opportunity to grow." Over the next year, Zephyr trained harder than ever. He studied the mountain's terrain, learned survival skills, and even sought advice from an old hermit who lived on the outskirts of the village. The hermit told him, "The mountain is not your enemy, Zephyr. It's your teacher. It will test your limits, but it will also show you what you're capable of." When Zephyr felt ready, he set out to climb Kala Pahad once again. This time, he was better prepared. He carried proper climbing gear, warm clothing, and enough supplies to last several days. The villagers still doubted him, but Zephyr didn't let their skepticism affect him. He knew that this climb was about more than reaching the summit. It was about proving to himself that he could overcome any obstacle. The climb was grueling. The higher Zephyr went, the more the mountain tested him. The wind howled, the rocks crumbled beneath his feet, and the cold bit into his skin. But Zephyr remembered the little bird and the hermit's words. He kept pushing forward, one step at a time. At one point, Zephyr reached a narrow ledge with a sheer drop on one side. His heart raced as he inched across, clinging to the rock face. For a moment, fear threatened to paralyze him, but he took a deep breath and reminded himself, "This is not a roadblock. This is an opportunity to grow." With sheer determination, Zephyr made it across the ledge. As he continued his ascent, he realized that every obstacle he faced was teaching him something new about the mountain, about life, and about himself. After days of relentless climbing, Zephyr finally reached the summit of Kalapahad. The view took his breath away. The world stretched out before him, vast and beautiful. He felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had ever experienced. As he stood there, Zephyr realized that the mountain had not been his enemy. It had been his greatest teacher. Every challenge, every setback, and every moment of doubt had pushed him to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When Zephyr returned to the villagers were in awe. They no longer saw Kalapahad as an insurmountable roadblock, but as a symbol of what could be achieved with determination and courage. Inspired by Zephyr's journey, many of them began to pursue their own dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed. Zephyr's story spread far and wide, becoming a legend in the region. People would often ask him, "How did you do it? How did you conquer Kalapahad?" Zephyr would smile and say, "I didn't conquer the mountain. I conquered myself." The mountain was never a roadblock. It was an opportunity to grow. Every obstacle I faced was a stepping stone to success. And if I can do it, so can you. And so Zephyr Storm Rider's legacy lived on, reminding everyone that challenges are not roadblocks, but opportunities for growth. Every obstacle we face is a stepping stone to success, if only we have the courage to keep climbing.